My name is Bachalli. I'm a practicing ENT surgeon in Bangalore, India. I have done a lot of courses like NLP, IEMT, several other courses over the period of time. Now I have been in Nick Kemp's workshop called Provocative Change Works. It's been very interesting and it's totally different from what I have learned so far. Being a doctor, my interest is how can I use this with my patients, and how can I improve the quality of their health applying this. I know that you've been conducting a lot of programs for doctors in Japan especially and all over the world. Would you please elaborate on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's firstly, it's very interesting to see similarities across different countries, because this year I'll be in Japan, America, Sweden, Hungary, Israel, India twice, Austria, UK. So you get a sense of a lot of different types of people and some similarities. In Japan, I've been doing a lot of work with medics, and what they like is that you can go to any kind of training and you can train to be a doctor or any kind of practitioner, and then in real life situations, people behave differently. And my wife's a doctor, and people come in and go, doctor, I think I've got this, and they feel they're self-diagnosed and it's a million miles away. Then the other extreme, you've got people who don't do anything, who've got something seriously problematic. So the heart of the PCW model is being able to work conversationally with people, keep them at ease, but at the same time be able to stimulate and encourage different ways of thinking. And this is one of the reasons why Dr. Kono and Dr. Hiro in Japan, when they first saw me must be 3-4 years ago, thought this could be great with patients. Because often patient comes because they're in a distressed state. They don't come because I've nothing else to do, walk the dog, wash my hair, read the newspaper, I'll just go and see my local ENT specialist. They're in a distressed state to start with. They've probably, in many cases, had all kinds of thoughts and ideas about what the problem might be. So they're not going to be in the best of state for communication to start with. So one of the benefits of PCW is you're working very conversationally with someone, so you immediately get better communication back from them. So it's not like in some processes where we are building rapport, a conscious effort to mirror and match the client and to check their body language and every little tiny microscopic nuance. It's very much sort of like having the flexibility. Now, PCW does two things. By learning the process of being able to adopt different stances and stretching our own ease and ability to communicate and dynamic range, we become more confident and more congruent in how we are. And also the clients feel more accepted and more interested. And they feel like they're connecting with a human being rather than, Mr. Jones, right, what seems to be the problem? Well, doctor, I have this. Right, okay. And it's very disassociated.
It can be.
It can be. And I think more now than ever, especially in this sort of like world of hyperactivity and online communication, the personal connection that people have and the ability to trust and interact is more important than ever. So with PCW in a practical sense, sometimes it can be the simplest of things, where somebody may come in often having self-diagnosed themselves as saying, well, doctor, I believe I have, and they lay out the whole thing. And you might go, wow, really? And they may go, well, actually, and then they start to change their thinking. So a lot of it can be in the manner, very little things. It doesn't have to be sort of like grand sort of emotional gestures. It can be little things. And also humor, which is a big part of the PCW, brings things back into some kind of clarity for people. And it's well known that that is often better than many, many other approaches.
So far what I have learned from yesterday, today is the last day of the program, level 1.
Yeah.
The first thing that occurred to me was that very friendly approach.
Yeah.
Now, you are my pal.
Yeah.
And the relationship is totally different from the other programs I've done, or a doctor. You know, the relationship is doctor and patient. Yeah. But here, I'm your friend.
Yeah. Well, Frank Farrelly, who was the creator of provocative therapy, was a big influence on my own PCW work. And he used to talk about the provocative style as like two old friends talking on a park bench. You know, it's very much that way. And what happens is, and I have clients come see me, and sometimes they have had hours and hours of therapy, you know, and they're sitting there, and the practitioner's sitting there, the client's sitting there, and the practitioner's desperately trying to analyze the past, the client's looking hopefully at the practitioner for some solution, and it's all a bit difficult. Whereas with the PCW model, the aim is once you move into that frame of working, people feel more accepted, they feel more acknowledged, they're teased and provoked often, but they feel okay. And this is one of the things that, one of the challenges is that when I'm working with clients here at the front of the workshop, the view from the audience can be very, very different. I mean, we've had examples in the last 2 days where people go, wow, God, I mean, he just seemed to be sort of totally resisting to any suggestion. And the client's going, really? Yeah, so the experience firsthand is entirely different. But the key thing about all these different things, because there's so many approaches, like in anything at all, the bottom line is, does it work? Does it produce lasting, substantive, ecologically healthy, productive responses? And the evidence from my own experience, and now the evidence increasingly from certainly medics in Japan and other people that I know, my wife is also a long-standing GP, is the flexibility of this approach and the improvisational skill and the precision of paying attention to what people are saying is very helpful.
And what can I expect when I go back to my practice tomorrow at level 1? This is the first part. I have learned to be friendly.
Yeah.
And this flexibility is there. And when my patient probably leave the chamber, they will leave saying goodbye to your friend.
Sure.
Than a sick patient going out, maybe.
Yeah.
What else can I look forward to? How I can apply this in my practice?
Well, I think the thing I always encourage people to think about is treat what people say literally. Often the challenge for people in any communication situation is not to put in their own interpretations. Well, I've had clients with this condition before, therefore they're going to be like this, they're going to want this. So it's to literally treat what people say. When you engage with clients, particularly in this more conversational way, you get more information back. The other thing is to really watch for the generalizations that people have. You know, I mean, years ago, even 10, 15 years ago, if you mentioned somebody had cancer, that's it. Just order the coffin now. Right. That's it. It's over. And even with other sort of very well-known diseases, but advances in medicine and processes and treatments have advanced massively. So suddenly things are quite different. So I think that the main factor in any communication is always going to be how the practitioner is in relation to the client. Okay. If the practitioner's sort of thinking, oh God, and is very restricted in themselves, then that often comes over with the client. But here's the great thing about this. The bottom line is we don't know how it'll be. Your own experience will be that you will find what works best for you. And this isn't a model where we go, right, stage 1, do this. Stage 2, do this. Stage 3, subsection, paragraph 4, do this. If there's a problem, move immediately to stage 6. It's very much having an awareness of lots of different ways that you can work and different stances that you can adopt. But at the same time, the key thing is you're just watching and listening. That's the main thing.
Yeah, that's what I learned yesterday and day before. What the patient literally, what he says or what she says, to respond to that in an appropriate manner using this model.
Yes.
There's no linearity as such. one sense there is a structure, at the same time there is no structure to
Yes.
it. Is that correct?
Yes, I mean, you're really working in the here and now, like you would do in any other conversation, you know. And what happens is that, well, two things happen. Number one, it's much more interesting for both the practitioner and the client, because they feel they're engaging with somebody, rather than, yes, what seems to be the problem, right, okay, yeah, and it's too disassociated. So it makes it much more interesting, and also you get much better honest communication. You know, I know where my wife practices, there's lots and lots of different doctors, and some doctors have many more patients seeking them out than others. Now, that's fine because everybody has personal preferences, but in order to help and assist the widest range of people, it's key to have the widest range of flexibility, because you're going to get some people that are just a nightmare to deal with. You know, they turn up and you say, how are you today? And they go, well, and here we go down doom and gloom. So a lot of the time it's having the skills to be able to really help the person get into a different way of thinking and feeling. And that means having a wide range of personal skills and being able to adopt the different stances. And sometimes it can be almost like you don't really notice. Most people watching from the outside will think it's just a conversation. You know, like we've had, like, a number of the interviews up here in the last 2 days have been very different. And my job is to show the range of what can be done.
What can be done.
Yeah.
Another question, Nick. For doctors, time limit is there.
Yeah.
And what I've noticed here is, you know, to develop a rapport, and then that using all the stances and developing that, it takes a bit of time. And some of the doctor's surgeries are filled with patients,
Sure.
and on top of his mind is, now I have to see all these patients and then help them.
Sure.
And the time is the factor. Would one get that by, I mean, practice would get better or no?
Yeah, because let's remember,
a bit of time.
The stances are like having the musical notes that you can play on an instrument. You don't have to play every note, you know.
No.
You just play what's appropriate in the situation. So you know, the stances give a wide variety of options where you can go. But what you use may just be one or two things, or it may just be one thing. And the best thing about this is because it's working in the here and now of what's coming back, it really makes things faster and more effective, because you're not going through endless analysis. Now, some information is useful. You know, in any situation, you want to get a certain amount of information. But when somebody goes too much into talking about what has happened in the past rather than and starting to entertain what they can do next, you can just burn a lot of time just talking about what has been rather than what happens next. So because this is in the here and now model, it's very much focused on, okay, what can we do right now that's going to be useful? What's a better way of thinking, better way of feeling, better way of responding, better way of taking on, adopting, and using advice for the greater benefit of you, the client.
Yeah.
So it's all about the client and how the client is assisted and helped. And more about that than anything to do with the medic or the practitioner. I mean, Frank Farrelly once wonderfully said, you have to throw out your professional dignity in the service of the client. You know? So the idea is that's the primary focus. And I mean, it's been delightful being in India. I mean, this is the third time I think I've been here, fourth time I've been here. And I noticed a lot of similarities between medics in Japan and elsewhere, in that people more than ever want something that works, that's efficient. You can have all the theory in the world. I go, I'm delighted. You can have all the academic libraries and books. That's great. The bottom line is when somebody comes knocking on your door and it's 9 o'clock on a Monday morning and they're in a distressed state, what can you do to help them?
And what I've observed is it enhances the communication levels. And from now on, I'll have to be thinking about what I'm going to say next, being here and now. How can I help my patient? Because usually as a doctor, we are thinking about the illness of the patient.
Yeah.
Focus. So, this is another perspective I have to come from.
Yeah.
So practice, like you were telling us yesterday, practice. Along with medical practice this as well.
Yeah. And here's the thing, I'm still learning. I don't have anything like all the answers. My interest is as people start to use and develop this model, what they come back with. You will more than likely come back with a whole bunch of things when we meet up again and go, well, I found this, and this, and I'm thinking, because you have exclusive world that you operate in. The idea is that people go out into the universe and use all these skills, and then we collectively learn how to figure out things better. Steve Andres, a dear friend in Boulder, Colorado, once said in a workshop, no one of us is smarter than all of us. And I think it's really important to think about, because collectively, it's, well, what can we collectively do that is really effective and really helpful and useful for people? The proof is what happens, not in what people suggest or the name they have on the door, the certificate text they have. It's about how does it translate, whether it's a therapeutic context, coaching context, or business context.
Okay. Is there anything else you would like to add?
Well, we have day 3 starting very soon, and a small army of Bangaloreans will ascend on us, and we will see how things develop. But it's been delightful chatting to you, and I think it's always a pleasure to work with people who are invested in helping other people, because there's a lot of commonalities.
Thank you very much, Nick.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And for my doctor friends, if you want more information, you can go on to Nick's website. And he will be in India again sometime later part of this year. So look forward to meeting more of my professional friends.
Thank you.
Thank you.